My presentation is on raising awareness to cultural creativity using Inuit Qayamaya, which is the Inuit societal values. I wanted to do my PD presentation on something that I could use in my community. Raising awareness on Inuit Qayamaya will help both the students and the staff who are involved in Nunavut schools. Inuit Qayamaya are the foundations for Inuit and how they lived in the past and present. For this presentation, we will be focusing on 6 main principles. Going forward with this PD presentation, the slides will show you each Inuit Qayamaya societal value, what they mean, and how you can apply these to the classrooms. The practice slides will focus on one of the 4 types of assessments when it comes to assessing creativity. These include the creative process, the creative person, the creative products, and the creative environment. The first Inuit Qayamaya or IQ value we will be focusing on is Biit which is known as the concept of serving. This poster here portrays how Inuit helped one another back in the day. And to the left here, you could see what Tagalik in 2024 described Biit as. The concept of serving is central to the Inuit style of leadership, and as such, it is the measure of the maturity and wisdom of an Inuit. Key here is the understanding that each person has a contribution to make and is a valued contributor to his or her community. Students will be expected to demonstrate this kind of leadership and commitment to serving the common good. This is one example of many ways of how you can practice Biit in the classroom. For the learning outcome, I focused on how it could make a creative person. The learning outcome is learners will be able to demonstrate awareness of IQ value Biit the concept of serving, by analyzing concept of serving and applying new knowledge to themselves, peers, elders, and others. One way to assess this could be through discussion and collaboration. And in the learning activity here, the students will list, with or without the teacher, it will depend on the age of the students, a variety of activities they can do for others that they are able to do, and discuss the importance of a few of these activities. Students will then apply learned knowledge and demonstrate awareness of Biit concept of serving. The second IQ value we will be focusing on is Aye Qatigimniq, which is also known as consensus decision making. The portrait here comes from the posters that were provided by Tagalik in 2024 from the Pingwak online website. The Inuk here is planning to make a igloo. So with them, they have their subgut, which is the first tool to the left. This will tell you how hard or how soft the snow is, and this person will be able to find the proper material, which is snow in this instance, to help them make a proper igloo. The shovel is used to help get to where they need to, and the pana, which is the farthest to the right, this tool is a long knife used to help cut the snow. So with this image, we can see that a person can be working together with other people, or they could be working with other tools so that they can create something and be successful. Here's one example of how you can practice Aliyah consensus decision making in the classroom. The learning outcome here focuses on the creative process, and the learners will identify key factors that come to consensus decision making and practice this IQ value amongst each other. An example of how you can assess this could be through case study and implementation strategy. The learning activity here, you can have learners, the learners will examine a number of questions and review possible outcomes together. Final product will be acceptable to all that are involved. Hence, the meaning behind this, the students need to make sure they all agree with one another of what decisions they will be making, and that decision will be supportive to the common good for all. The next Inuit Qalyamaya Tukangit societal value we will be focusing on is Bilim Magsangnik, which is also known as skills and knowledge acquisition. In this photo here, you could see a man hunting with their traditional dogs. This man portrays skills and knowledge needed to be able to be a successful hunter and a successful individual who is able to navigate their surroundings with little to no materials and tools. The concept of skills and knowledge acquisition and capacity building is central to the success of Inuit in a harsh environment. Building personal capacity in Inuit ways of knowing and doing are key expectations for students. Demonstrating empowerment to lead a successful and productive life that is respectful of all is powerful and is a powerful end goal of our educational system. This was stated from Tagalik in 2024. One example of how you can practice Bilim Magsangnak skills and knowledge acquisition in your classroom. The learning outcome here is to create a creative person. The learners will demonstrate an awareness of their personal attitudes and apply their learned knowledge to skills they are currently practicing. An assessment example here is to use collaboration and discussion. The learning activity involves learners that will apply what they know to a skill they wish to share with others. Examples can include reading with emphasis, applying one concept to another new concept, and various other activities that portray Bilim Magsangnak skills and knowledge acquisition. The next Inuit Qalyamaya Tukangit societal value we will be focusing on is Qanokdo Nangnuk, which is being resourceful to solve problems. Tagalig in 2024 stated that the concept of being resourceful to solve problems using innovative and creative use of resources and demonstrating adaptability and flexibility in response to a rapidly changing world are strengths all our students should develop. Resourcefulness should be demonstrated in all learning and also thinking that seeks to improve the context in which Inuit live. And I believe this can adapt to most or all classrooms, because I believe that this is a very important value for not just Inuit to follow, but for everyone else to follow with the rapidly changing world we have seen recently. Here's one example of how you can practice Qanokdogon being resourceful to solve problems in your classroom. The learning outcome here, we have focused on the creative environment, and students will demonstrate awareness to be creative to solve problems. One way to assess this learning outcome is through discussion and innovative planning. The learning activity includes students, it will focus on learners that will demonstrate creative thinking by using learned knowledge to solve problems. Problems can come from a list made by the students or examples that came from educators. Be mindful to use other IQ values during these kinds of practices because we can link one with another most times as they do not work individually, but rather they work together as a whole. But for this project and through Inuit knowledge, the Inuit Qaumayatukaniit societal values do not go one in one, they all come together. The next Inuit Qaumayatukaniit societal value we will be focusing on is Bilirikatigiinik, which is known as collaborative relationships or working together for a common purpose. In the image here, you can see two people, two Inuit, working together to create an Inukshuk. This just portrays Bilirikatigiinik. And in 2024, Tagalik stated that the concept of developing collaborative relationships and working together for a common purpose. The essential Inuit belief that stresses the importance of the group over the individual should pervade all our teaching. Expectations for students will reflect working for the common good, collaboration, shared leadership, and volunteerism. Bilirikatigiinik also sets expectations for supportive behavior development, strong relationship building, and consensus building. One example of how you can practice Bilirikatigiinik collaborative relationships in the classroom. For this learning outcome, we will focus on the creative products, where learners will identify key concepts that constitute to collaborative relationship building. An assessment tool you could use here are discussions and collaboration. For the learning activity, you can have students or learners discuss, examine, and practice what good collaborative relationships look, sound, and feel like. They will apply this knowledge with peers and communicate what works well and what does not. With this type of learning activity, it's mainly open-ended because I wanted to be inclusive for a kindergarten to grade 12 class or school. Therefore, it's not down to the specifics, but it is open-ended so that there is room to add or remove what works or what doesn't. The next Inuit Qaumayatukaniit societal value we will be focusing on here is Avatimik Kamatsernak, which is environmental stewardship. I believe that the picture here is very self-explanatory, finding the importance to keep your environment clean. These posters could be found also on the referenced website you will find at the end of this presentation. In 2024, Tagalik stated that the concept of environmental stewardship stresses the key relationship Inuit have with their environment and with the world in which they live. Students will be expected to articulate respect for this mutually interdependence relationship and to demonstrate responsible behaviors that seek to improve and protect the relationships in ways that make global changes to environmental wellness. One example of how you can practice environmental stewardship in the classroom. For the learning outcome here, we will focus on the creative environment, where students or learners will demonstrate a caring attitude to their environment. An assessment tool that you could use here could be through discussion and innovative planning. And an example of a learning activity could be where learners will show care, responsibility, and innovative thinking process by taking care of their environment, which could include their personal space, their classroom, school, or outdoors, and examine how they can better their environment. How will the use of Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit societal values motivate Inuit students to become creative? The use and awareness of Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit, also known as IQ, societal values in the classroom will foster Inuit knowledge into the classroom. This will help the learner's foundation and learning experience in Nunavut schools. As a Nunavut school teacher, I find that a lot of our resources are not culturally relevant. Therefore, incorporating Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit will very much help shape the student as it comes from their own personal backgrounds, and it's something that they are used to seeing and living. Also, students will become more aware of Inuit views. Students will be motivated to learn more about who they are, where they come from, and why Inuit work the way they do. In recent years, it's unfortunate, but there have been a decline in Inuit knowledge and traditional skills learning in the schools I have personally seen. Using these types of learning outcomes in the classroom can help students motivate themselves intrinsically so that they become more eager to learn about who they are, where they come from, why we do what we do, and how and why we do our ways in the Inuit classrooms. And this is very important to keep up with because in recent years it has come to show that the classroom have become more westernized, and I believe that incorporating Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit societal values in the classroom will help students gain their strength back with their own cultures. As I was creating the professional development resource here for raising awareness in Nunavut classrooms regarding Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit societal values, I found that some academic readings related well to Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit, one of which Plucker in 2019 stated that creativity assessment is typically grouped into 4 different types of areas, which include creative process, creative persons, creative product, and creative environment. Knowing these will help build on to this document, and there is a possibility to continue on with this document. If you think back to how you can practice Inuit Qauyimayiutukangit in these classrooms, those pages, those are open-ended. You can add some different perspectives to each of those learning outcomes, and using that table format will help build a great document. And that is what I used for, the examples of how you can use Inuit Kayamayutokongi in the classrooms. And I wanted to make sure that these different types of creativity assessments were included in each portion of the presentation. Another academic relation to Inuit Kayamayutokongi was with Hennessy in 2015, where they stated that while there is no consensus on the impact of extrinsic constraints across cultures, there is no evidence to suggest that intrinsic motivation is anything but a powerful and positive driving force for students of all ages and backgrounds. Teachers are best advised to work to increase the intrinsic motivation and creativity of their students on a case-by-case basis until we understand more. For me, I found this applied very well to the presentation and the goal of the presentation that I've made. We need to make sure that we are getting students more involved with their culture and perhaps different cultures if this presentation ends up in a non-Inuit school or classroom. And also the increase in intrinsic motivation is another goal for this presentation. Once students learn more about the societal values for Inuit Kayamayatokangit, I believe the more they learn, the more they want to incorporate different ways to learn these subject areas and principles. Therefore, I found what Hennessy said was very beneficial and a powerful statement. Here is a reference page for all that I've used for this presentation. Please feel free to look into these. I highly recommend going into the last reference with Tagalog in 2024. This is a Pingwak website. You can download the Inuit Kayamayatokangit value posters that I was talking about. The link in that website is titled large posters. So if you find yourself on that website, click on the large posters. I highly recommend using them in the classroom. Thank you so much.